Hey everyone, we're back here for another video. Today we're talking about Tomas Tatar and top 5 teams that he could possibly be traded to this season. And before this trade deadline, I feel like could happen. Now, Tomas Tatar is a guy who actually has a contract up this season. Yes, this season, and a $5.3 million contract, which actually is for the Montreal Canadiens $4.8 million because when he got traded with the Max Pacioretty deal, that whole thing, Vegas retained $500,000, so that meant Montreal $4.8 million instead. So if any team got Tomas Tatar, their cap would be, well, what they have to pay for Tomas Tatar would be only 4.8 instead of 5.3. Now Tomas Tatar, you have to think, is wondering, do I stay in Montreal? Do I not? Now, if you went to a team that would be winning, which Montreal is, or got another chance somewhere else, most likely would he be on the first line? Probably not. At most, the second line, third line, top 9. But Montreal is an ideal spot on that first line with Tomas and Gallagher. A great line. I know this year, little troubles there. Tomas hasn't got a goal yet. Tatar has been cold so far, and Gallagher has been ranking it up just lately now. So that first line has been cold for Montreal, but despite them being cold, Montreal has actually still thrived at times, so that's good. But what is five places I could see Tomas Tatar go to this season before the trade deadline? Now, Tomas Tatar is a great shooter, great accurate shooter on that left side, really good. One thing I don't care about the most is his playoff performance. Not just in Montreal last year, was okay, he was kind of not there in appearance. He was there on the ice, but just nowhere to be found, really. And even for Vegas, before he got traded, I know wasn't the best, but really wasn't nowhere to be found in Vegas either at times. The Red Wings, about the same, but he was still very young back then. So we'll see how things go. Let's get into Tomas Tatar now. Just a couple stats before we actually get into the top 5 teams. Tomas Tatar this season, he has in 14 games 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points, plus and minus of equal. But last year he had 61 points in 68 games, leading with 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. Very good. And yeah, very good stuff to see. So the top 5 teams is number 5. Here we go for Tomas Tatar to go to. Now that is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now Pittsburgh is a team right now. It's mediocre, trying to get in that top 4 in the division, trying to hold that. The Islanders are now pushing through here lately. Penguins kind of holding themselves in that 4th, 5th spot there, trying, but really, we'll see if the Pittsburgh Penguins could actually go for a Tomas Tatar. Right now, they actually have $223,000 in cap, which means not enough whatsoever. So they would have to move someone out. Maybe they move out, for example, Colton Sevier. Colton Sevier has 1.2 million. That's still not enough. Maybe you still move someone else out. Which, could they do it? It would depend. They would have to move some stuff around, depending what that is. Do they still move Chris Letang? Is that a thing still in their minds? Not sure still. We'll see what Ron Hextall would do with Brian Burke there. Really not sure. But it'll be interesting. If they're in the playoff position at that time of the deadline, this might be an interesting one. But the cap still would have to be something they had to figure out for sure. And something that Montreal would want back. Which, what would Montreal want back from the Pittsburgh Penguins? Maybe Brian Rust, $3.5 million. Thinking maybe Almeida doesn't come back next year. You know, that whole thing. Maybe Zucco. I don't see Zucco. No, not Zucco. On defense, no, not really. Maybe Jared McCann, $2.9 million. That could be a possibility. Maybe Jared McCann. I know they're kind of been always hoping for him, but that would kind of be a downgrade over Tomas Tatar. So not much there for the Penguins, but maybe they kind of rack something up here. You never know. Number 4. The LA Kings. Now, for Montreal, this is a great one to trade with. They have the assets, they have the picks. You can have you want a great center or a nice great forward for prospect. They definitely have it. They have some great players, and they can definitely spend some of those players for other needs on the team. Either that's veteranship, either that's getting something they need for a better position, a position they're kind of lacking in, for sure. But right now, the Kings have some great young players, and really thinking Tomas Tatar would be a great place, and also they would be able to take that $4.8 million contract, unlike the Penguins, who not really, would be able to afford Tomas Tatar full $4.8 million contract there. So let's get into the Kings a little bit more here. The Los Angeles Kings right now, this time, they actually have a good amount of cap space, about $8.7 million, which is really good. If they get Tomas Tatar, it'd be $4 million left. You would have to think if Tomas Tatar went to the LA Kings, there would have to be an extension in place for this, because LA isn't a team like, oh, by the way, World Cup contender at this time, he'll just be a rental. No, not that whatsoever. He would have to have a contract in place, because the Kings aren't going to give up a young player in return if they know he's just going to go to free agency on July 1st. That's the thing. They're not going to go to, if that's July 1st, who knows? They're not going to give up that young player to know that in a couple, when the season ends, that, well, that's a waste of a prospect. Why do you even pick him up? So it has to be probably a contract extension in place, knowing, okay, if the Kings got Tomas Tatar extension for so many years, this much money goes to the Kings, and that would be a better deal for them. So it has to be that. Who could go back the other way? Velarde? Not really. Maybe Trevor Moore. He's 25 years old. I was thinking Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore used to be a former Leaf too, and he's 25. 6 points in 15 games. He could be an interesting pickup there. Maybe Trevor Moore in a 3rd round pick. Hey, look at that. Trevor Moore in a 3rd round pick. Maybe a 2nd round pick instead. Maybe Blake Lazar, which, you know what? Down the middle, they're actually not bad. Blake Lazar, not the best. Or Carl Goggenstrom. How's Carl this year? Maybe Trevor Moore would be the one to go for. I think Trevor Moore and a 3rd round pick. More in a 3rd round pick to the Montreal Canadiens for Tomas Tatar. Full contract, 4.8. Absolutely. I think that would be great trade for Montreal. That would be a fantastic. Trevor Moore, is that a downgrade over Tomas Tatar? Yes, but you have Cole Caulfield coming up. I don't put too much pressure on him. And if you're in the playoff status, how does that whole work? That's the thing. Exactly. So, let's go on to number 3. Number 3 is the New Jersey Devils. Now, New Jersey definitely will be able to take on that $4.8 million contract. And also, same thing like the Kings. There would have to be extension in place for this one, because the rebuilding team, like I said, you're not going to give up a young player to know that he's going to go to free agency in a couple months and sign someone else to waste that young player for nothing. Exactly, right? So it has to be a extension in place. Now, the Devils this season have actually been pretty good. So they make the playoffs. This might be an asset. I know he's not the best in the playoffs. He's mediocre, I should say, in the playoffs. But what could Montreal get back in return? Now, Montreal, I was thinking actually this. Why not Miles Wood? Now, Miles Wood, 8 points, 11 games. You know what? Montreal might have to give up something, which I don't mind if Montreal has to give up a pick or two, because Montreal has the draft picks. It's not like they don't have the draft picks. I'm going to let you know right now what Montreal has for draft picks. They have the draft picks. No doubt they don't. If Montreal Canadiens, Their draft picks, they had their own first round pick, 2 second round picks, 3 third round picks, 3 fourth round picks, 3 fifth round picks, their own 6th, and their own 7th. So they definitely have some picks they can spend. And I think Miles would be an awesome fit for the Montreal Canadiens. Would what I should say, would the Devils necessarily want to give up a Miles Wood? A 30-year-old for a 25-year-old? Montreal might want to give up that second round pick, that Lightning one, if anything. Maybe a second or a fourth for Miles Wood, for extension in place for Tomas Tatar. That might be an interesting one. It might be. And that'll be only for actually Miles Wood. He's $2.75 million, which 4.8, that's about $2 million off the cap for Montreal. That works out for them. Absolutely it works out. You know, what if that doesn't go through? What else could you do? Well, that's probably the best one I can think of. Really, that's like the best one. Unless you want, you know, they're not going to give Michael McLeod here. You know, Miles Wood would be the best option. Absolutely the best option. I have to think. So, this review, Miles Wood to Montreal for a second and a fourth round pick. Third round pick, if it has to be a third round pick to Montreal, to the Devils, so be it. Fine. But I think that may be a good pickup for Montreal. I really do think it would be good for both sides. Absolutely. You know, the Devils add some veteranship to that left side or to the forward group. And Montreal adds someone who actually has less cap. And it's not just signed for this year, but Miles Wood actually is signed for, if I can find out, 2 years. He's an RFA in 2 years. So look at that. This year and then next year. Almost like 1.5 years. So I think that's great. I absolutely think that's a great contract. And for Montreal, ideal. I'm sure Bertrand would, if I told him that, like, hey, that's not a bad deal. I would say, yeah, I'm right about that. All right, let's go on to the second team that I think, well, Tomas Tatar could go to. Now, one reason why why the Panthers are only second here, well, all second here, maybe I should have put Devils second, but Panthers because next year, if we go back to the same divisions, the Atlantic Division, Tomas Tatar will be facing us 4 times instead of, right now, of course, the Panthers are in the Central, so would you want Tomas Tatar, a player you just traded to their own division? Would you want that in the long run? And actually, for this, if he was just a rental, I think I wouldn't mind. They wouldn't mind if he was just a rental. Now, for the Panthers, that would be an interesting one. What would the Panthers give up? That is a really interesting one. Because right now, they're really just buying into the system. What they have, absolutely buying into the system. Now, what could they give up? That's an interesting one. Let's try, how about Frankie Vatrano? Former Boston Bruin. We could. That's an interesting one. How about Vinny Hinostroza? I know he hasn't been really the best. Brett Colony. 2 points in 10 games, hasn't been amazing. $3.5 million contract. If anything, I have to think of Frankie Vatrano. Frankie Vatrano would be the person. I know he's actually, like I said, 26 was a 30-year-old. That's the thing. Also, you do Brett Colony's 28. This would be one I would have to say. It would just absolutely have to be Vatrano for, Tomas Tatar. If a pick, like I said, if you have to put a pick in there, no problem. Montreal has the picks. They stacked up on the picks. They can give some away, just like they did for Jake Allen. We'll take on Jake Allen, and he'll stick up a picks. And look how that looked. Absolutely fantastic. So we have to give some picks up to really get that player we want. Hey, why not? All right, number 1. Minnesota Wild. This is a really interesting one. I thought this would be the best one. Actually thinking maybe the Devils too. And I don't know. This feels like they would be. Number one. Up there with the Wild for sure. And even the Panthers, absolutely. So let's talk about the Wild now. Now, the Minnesota Wild are a team that has started off very good, and then the COVID thing, which bumped them all the way kind of down to almost the bottom. Not because the record, it's just they've been out for so long. It's tough to get those games back, but really, So what would I think for? I was thinking Jordan Greenway, but man, Jordan Greenway has been absolutely incredible for these Wild. I would have thought Greenway would have been a fantastic pick. But if you look at Greenway, he has been really good. And he has 10 points in 13 games. Like, he has really stepped up a notch. Absolutely. Maybe not just a notch. Maybe a couple of notches. Absolutely. Who else could I say? For the Minnesota Wild, they don't have the best forward group. They're kind of expendable. Kind of like the term isn't much. Really, except Zach Parise has like 5 years. Zuccarello 2. Everyone's like 1. You know what I mean? Like Bukestad, he has 1 year left. But that wouldn't be, like I said, if you have to use picks, Mark Bushman, and I know you will. If you have to, you can. And I think Jordan Greenway would be an absolutely fantastic pick. I would have to say that's the one I have to go with. If anyone else, I don't think anyone else I can think of. Adam Beckman, but they're not going to give up Adam Beckman, the 19-year-old center, which Montreal doesn't really need centers at this point, which is hard to believe, right? So I would say Greenway for Tatar, second and third. How about second and third? Or second and fourth? I don't know. I like that. Greenway would be a great player to add even more physicality than just Josh Anderson. Oh, that would be interesting on that forward group. Man, getting this team even bigger than we ever thought. My goodness. And Greenway's been great, like I said. So we'll see how that goes, I think Greenway, is Jordan Greenway. I'm sure Mark Bushman has looked at Greenway. And Greenway actually has 2 years left. 1.2 million. So, if he keeps up what he's doing right now, he's definitely going to make some money. Which, you know what? Jordan Greenway is a great option. I hope Montreal, if they want to trade Tatar, this would be one of them. That or Miles Wood or, like I said, Frankie Futrano. So I would have to say those would be the best. And for the Wild, I'm sure they would like to have an extension for Tatar. They haven't brought him, back on that left side. I'm sure it'd be second line left side. Wouldn't you think? Second line on the left side there. First line, maybe. Hey, never know. Precy and Tatar, like top left wingers for them. Hey, you never know, right? So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy your day. And thanks for watching for this video, because top 5 teams Tomas Tatar could go to. Right? Thanks for watching. Like I said, keep saying it. And let's try to get 400 subs. We're getting a great job getting there, like 6 away. So happy to get there, right? See you next video. Bye.